You always hear the phrase, nobody remembers who finishes second. This is probably one of the only championships where nobody's going to remember who finished first.
The first game in history where the clock strikes 0 and the team that's up doesn't win the game.
And it's something that I don't think will ever happen again. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things.
Grey Cup, 2009. Montreal Alouettes and Saskatchewan Roughriders. Only 5 seconds remain in the game. Saskatchewan leads by 2 points. Montreal is in field goal range.
And there's time on the clock. And now for the win. A guy who helped put him in a bind today with a couple of poor kicks gets to go from the doghouse to being a hero, and he's missed. Celebration at the Rough Rider bench. But there are markers down. Penalty markers down all over the field.
Illegal substitution, too many men on the field, Saskatchewan.
Oh my.
That's a 10-yard penalty. We'll repeat, first down.
Paul LaPolice cannot believe it. And neither can, I'm sure, an entire province.
Looked like somebody ran on late into the end zone. And now Duval gets a second chance to win the 97th Grey Cup. Ball down, ball through, and the Montreal Alouettes have come all the way back, and they are the 2009 Grey Cup champions. We thought Saskatchewan's best chance was the 13th man. As it turns out, the 13th man cost them a Grey Cup title.
There's down weeks and up weeks in Saskatchewan during the football season. Up weeks are after the team wins, down weeks are after the team loses. But rain or shine, the fans are going to be there.
Football is just different in Saskatchewan. There's such an absorption with it that you may think is illogical based upon the fact that Canada is reputedly hockey country, but this pocket of the country is so transfixed with football and everything pertaining to the Rough Riders.
It sounds so bad, but like it's all we have, and it sounds so pathetic because it's like, you know, we should have other things. Maybe we should have an NHL team, or maybe we should have other stuff. We have potash, but you can't get behind potash. So it's like, we'll get behind the Riders, and so yeah, so we get behind the Riders. Everybody in this province.
There's nothing more that proves what it's like to be in Saskatchewan when you get to go to a Mosaic Stadium on a Sunday and see 30,000 fans there, and they're all united, wanting one thing: beat Montreal, beat Edmonton, and it's something that brings us all together.
They put us on the national stage, and we were the underdogs in our communities, or we felt that way anyway. And the Riders took us and they lifted us, and that was the George Reed and Ron Lancaster years, and they won. And that's when people really became attached to the team, is when they did that.
I want to be on the Riders because they never give up.
They never give up, it's true.
They're a really good team that they can't win the Grey Cup.
To be a true Rider fan, let's face it, you have to deal with a lot of adversity. We've won 3 Grey Cups in over 100 years in an 8-team league. You know, some would say statistically that's impossible, but you know what that means is, for the true Rider fan, you have to be resilient.
There's several times in the franchise's history where the team's existence has been imperiled. There's several times when you've thought this franchise isn't going to go on, yet it does.
Well, you know, the team almost folded a few years ago because the franchise wasn't making any money. And it was the fans that brought it back. Everybody bought a piece of the team because they needed something to bring us all together.
a few years ago were pretty lean times for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, for money, talent, the whole bit, and they went through a real trough and a real downtime. But with that same Saskatchewan mentality where you put your head down and go to work, they revived it, and they've got people in place now and people that have started and have built it back up again to a really great team.
Clubhouse 23 was named after Ron Lancaster.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Clubhouse 23.
When I was growing up, we had 18 season tickets in 2 rows. We all went to the games.
My dad sat me down in front of the TV, watched football. Just something you grow up learning.
It's a community. That's what football is here. Is it brings 30,000 fans together, and it's just one big family at Mosaic Stadium.
There's no other team that I know of with a fan base like ours, that it's completely ubiquitous, from young to old, male, female, it doesn't matter. If you're from Saskatchewan, you're a Rider fan, and that's all there is to it.
I think part of the core culture of those people is they really appreciate the fact that it's a community-owned team, that they're part of it. I think that helps with the people loving the team and everything. And certainly in the last couple of years, they've had a lot of success.
Go team, go!
Our produce team across this province of Saskatchewan help our customers select that perfect watermelon for that watermelon helmet for game day, a special part of cheering on our Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I think it's just creativity at its best. You know, it's easy to do. Cut a watermelon, eat it while you're at it, and put it on your head when you're done with it, right?
Scoop out all the watermelon, and then you got the green thing, and you just set it on, and it's all about green.
I definitely have wore a watermelon for.
I can't say I did.
Still haven't put a watermelon on my head. I don't think I will, but it was. I
have.
Yeah,
Our kids have.
The kids have, but yeah.
They think it's cool.
They're a little comfortable the first time. You get used to it, like anything else.
I don't think you can ever really get used to seeing a very normal middle-aged man with a watermelon on his head. It just doesn't seem to add up, but here it does, so it's a lot of fun.
You know, and it used to be that you could, you know, you had to almost hog tie a player to bring him to Saskatchewan to play. Now you got guys that want to come to Saskatchewan and play. They're playing out their options, so they hoping to get picked up by Saskatchewan to come and play.
When my agent first told me that I was going to Saskatchewan, I looked at the city, and down south, you know, we say Regina. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to Regina, Saskatchewan. Let me go online and see where this is and see where I'm going. So I was like, oh, man, this is where I'm going. But once I saw the fan support and, you know, how they treat us out here, it was just, this is where I needed to be. I'm all about that.
I managed a restaurant nearby the stadium, and they'd come in for lunch, and you know, just watching them how they play on the field, and like meeting them in real life. They're very genuine, you know, people, and they're really, really nice guys.
You watch them on TV, you feel like you know them, even though you really haven't met them. But I mean, we've all gone to, you know, autograph signings, or you bring your jersey and they'll sign your jersey. So yeah, the players, you do feel like you know them, even though you've maybe only said hello once or twice.
They're local celebrities around here. Yeah, you see them out and it's like, oh my goodness. It's Andy walking around at the shopping mall like he's an actual human being, you know?
My grandma Phyllis Mueller is one of the biggest Rider fans I know. She's been a season ticket holder since like 1955. And when she sees Andy Fantus or someone like Darian Durant at Safeway, she goes and talks to him about the game on the weekend. And she thinks she has input in the game. I think every Rider fan is like that, and I think that's what makes it so special, that we have that connection with the players, and the players have that connection with the community.
I remember growing up here, and it was the early 1970s, and I opened the telephone directory and started looking for Saskatchewan Roughriders players in the phone directory. And hey, there's Ron Lancaster over on Emerald Park Road. So I got my dad to drive by Emerald Park Road and went and looked at Ronnie's house. And then we looked at the houses of 10 other Roughriders who were listed in the telephone directory. Where else would that happen?
As soon as you land at the airport, everybody knows who you are. Everyone wants to talk football. It doesn't matter if you're going out for lunch, if you're talking to the taxi driver that's taking you to the hotel, you know, to the bell person that's there when you arrive. They all want to talk football. It's more than just a game.
We're making football beanies for Rider Pride. Anything Rider happening in the city, we wear it, or we have people wear them daily. Like,
so pretty green.
yeah.
All the noise that we make and everything, distracting the other team, encouraging our team, it's really what the Riders are about. We're all the 13th man.
The 13th Man is interesting because it really started at the grassroots. A lot of the fans, I think, kind of embraced the notion of the importance they had, the way they could impact a game.
13th Man is just the crowd here. You know, anytime that any team comes here, they're going to have a lot of difficulty hearing their cadence. They're going to have a lot of difficulty communicating with one another. And that's just what our fans do. And they're going to be on them all game long, no matter what the score is. And it really, really helps our team.
They retired the number 13. They put it on the back of the mascot and really made the fans, instead of an observer and supporter of the team, really a member of the team.
Well, it just means that we're just always behind the team. There's 12 players on the field, and the 13th man is in the stands cheering them on and, you know, making noise if we need to make noise to help the team out.
When you get 30,000 people at the game, and Burris is the quarterback for Calgary Stampeders, and you can't hear, you know, and the line goes offside, I'm sure it works.
You have to change your game plan when you come out here and play, due to the 13th man. You know, they, from start to finish, they're off of their feet, they're yelling, screaming, making it difficult on the opposing team.
Support your team 100% when you shop at Rider Stores.
This is my brother's memorial for his celebration of his life because he was a true Riders fan. That's how we decided to celebrate his life.
We have a lot of fans that are buried in their jersey, or the Rider flag drapes the casket. That's pretty special stuff and quite common here. And I'm not sure that you'd see that with a lot of teams.
I have actually buried people in their Rider gear, maybe with a football that's been signed by all the Riders from how many years ago. Little knickknacks that people have. The families really want to portray to everybody else to see how important the Riders were to their loved one. Lee Funeral Home is right next door to Mosaic Stadium. I love the dressing up aspect of it. It's not just the game that I like going to, it's seeing the other fans and how excited everybody gets, and everybody's friends when you go to the Taylor Field. I did make the leader post, yes. A friend and I were at a Labor Day game a couple years ago, opened up the sports page the next day, and we were one of the feature photos, yes.
I'm Sister Adelaide Fortoski.
I'm Sister Rosetta Reiniger, and we are both Ursuline sisters of Prelate. Well, I think God really loves the Riders. Now, we know that God loves everybody, and so he loves every team, but God does have a green and white Rider shirt on. Many of the people pray to win, as we do, but when we lose, we also say, you know, okay, that's the way it is for this time. Somebody has to lose. We can't win all the time, although we'd like to. We have a special prayer, what we call the office of the church, at 4:45. Very often, the games are just ending at about that time. And so, we do have to make a choice. And we humbly admit that sometimes we choose the Riders and say our prayer privately afterwards. But it's too exciting sometimes to leave it. Yay, Riders! Yay!
Go Riders!
Well, the weather is perfect, and so is the matchup. The Alouettes bringing a franchise-best 15-3 record against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
We knew that there was going to be convoys of vehicles, buses, planes, everything heading from Saskatchewan to Calgary to watch this game, and we knew that it was going to be a sea of green.
The Roughriders, who won the West, brought an entire province with them in this, their second Grey Cup in 3 years.
We play Montreal pretty tough every time we play them. It's always a dogfight. And, you know, we felt like we had an advantage with it being in Calgary. We knew we'd have the majority of the stadium being our fans.
Montreal Alouettes, they are focused. You mentioned the franchise record, 15 wins. They scored 600 points this year. This is the best football team in the Canadian Football League in 2009.
We're going to that game thinking, hey, we should be by far the favorites. We should be the Grey Cup favorites to win this game. And then when you walk in and see the crowd and you see just the whole atmosphere and environment, you realize that you throw everything that happened up to this point out the window.
And here comes the Western Division All-Star quarterback, Darian Durant.
4,348 yards passing for Darian Durant, and he will have one thing to try and calm his nerves. He will have this crowd behind him, without question.
I just wanted to go all out that game. It was my first Grey Cup. You know, no one gave us a chance. I just wanted to come out and give it my all and play with all the energy and enthusiasm that you would expect a young, energetic quarterback to play with.
Darian Durant, if he was nervous and did have some pent-up nervous energy in his first start in the Grey Cup, certainly isn't showing it.
2009 Grey Cup. I found out our hotel was going to be the host hotel. I'd get my paper. It has a list of all the names for the rooms. And I just started freaking out. Oh my God, Darian Durant is on my floor. Oh my God, Stevie Banks is on my floor. Oh my God, Weston Dressler, Rob Bank, they're all on my floor. I was just going nuts. My niece is a huge Rider fan, loves Weston Dressler. Phoned her, rubbed it in. April, guess what? I made Weston Dressler's bed. It was great. It was crazy great.
And the Roughriders with a first down inside the Montreal 10. A lot of movement. Durant into the end zone. Touchdown! Indy Van 2.
They start putting the points on the board, and you're looking at the scoreboard and thinking, this is going to happen. They're going to pull this off. They're going to beat the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, during the first half, we played pretty much the best ball we could ever ask for.
Each releases 6 receivers. Pressure over the middle. Wide open.
The team is on an extreme high while you're just rolling and everyone's playing well. The defense is just stuffing them left and right.
The Riders came out, they had a lot of emotion, and they fed off the crowd, and the crowd fed off the Riders. And the emotion, the positive emotion, built and built and built.
Chris Sarka checks in on 2nd and 1 as the fullback, and the Canuck truck has it. And a first down for number 33, the city councilor.
Within a few minutes into that game, we were up, and we were riding emotional high, you know, throughout the first half.
Duval in, and it goes off the side of his foot. Up at the 32-yard line, uncharacteristic for the all-star CFL punter.
A lot of people say, you know, at that level you should never shank a punt or miss a field goal, but you know, we're just human like everybody else. I mean, that's like saying a receiver should never drop a ball. You know, a quarterback should never throw a bad pass.
In 2004, it was the expectation the Roughriders were going to get to the Grey Cup. There they were in overtime in a tense situation in BC. 17, 18-yard field goal, and that's an automatic.
The incident of the 2004 Western Final when I missed a field goal in overtime.
Paul McCallum attempting this field goal from the 17-yard line. Make it the 18. Hits it hard. And wide!
I could line up and hit 100 of those in a row, and for whatever reason, I missed that one. Next to somebody dying, that's the closest bad feeling I've ever had.
And that was the difference between the team getting to the Grey Cup and not getting to the Grey Cup.
It's kind of hard to face the guys right now.
Have you not seen them yet? You've not walked into that room?
No, I can't face them. I can't face them right now. It's all my fault.
His home address is listed in the telephone directory. Again, that's part of the charm of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. People know where Paul McCallum lives.
The security company was going to sit outside my house for the rest of the night because apparently they had egged the house and death threats and the whole manure incident.
It was inappropriate when they dumped the manure. Is that the one you're thinking of? They dumped the manure on his driveway. Yeah, that was, just one bad apple.
It wasn't right what the fans did here, but they are intense, and they let him know what we thought of an 18-year-old field. I could make that, and he definitely could with his eyes closed, but he didn't. And so when it gets that far, that was long enough ago that I think I can forget it, but still, there's still some bad feelings there.
Darian Durant runs in the touchdown. They're up by 16 points. It's game over. We're thinking, start engraving the Grey Cup. The Saskatchewan Roughrider, they're winning. I was sure of it. I think everybody in the stadium was sure of it.
We went up 16. It was feeling real good, but to those who really understand the CFL, you know that 9 minutes is like 30 minutes.
Football games aren't played perfectly. Lives are not lived perfectly. You have to overcome adversity, and we did a good job of overcoming adversity until very late in that football game.
Well, the Alouettes broke the huddle. We're going to confirm for you. Right now, the issue is 2nd and 10. Montreal fighting the noise and the heat. Calvillo pulls it down, and he'll get drilled at the 25 short.
You just get the sense that Montreal was such a good team that they were going to wake up at some point and kind of get their act together.
3rd and 3, the Alouettes are going for it. They're going to stay on the field. A big 3rd down gamble. Calvillo throws, Richardson got it, and they convert. And they're still alive.
And anytime that you play a football team that has the firepower and has a quarterback like Anthony Calvillo, then you're asking for trouble if you don't keep what I call if you don't keep your foot on their throat, then you're in trouble.
Well, I remember that sense of feeling of, they're coming back and they're getting back into this game. And I remember offensively feeling, we've got to continue to put drives together.
Just put them away, don't let off. And Saskatchewan's so bad at that in terms of it just seems like our teams in the past just never had that killer instinct.
They're going after this game. 2nd and 7. Another critical 2nd and long. Calvillo steps up. Unload, big, Cahoon, touchdown.
I don't know what happened. It's just out the window and gone. The lead just started dwindling and dwindling.
This down right here is absolutely crucial.
2nd and 9. More heat on the Saskatchewan offense than they've had all day. Durant, drop bag. Gotta get 5 yards, and he gets drilled.
Roughriders have to punt the ball to Montreal, and the Alouettes are going to get one more chance with Anthony Calvillo quarterbacking them, having suddenly gained momentum.
Now the 13th man will try and take over.
Montreal's got to move the chains. 31 seconds left.
2nd and 10. Cool to Richardson. Midfield. At the 54 of the Roughriders.
You start wondering, given the history of this team in Grey Cup games in tight situations, is precedent going to bite them once again. Can they hold on this one time?
Time for one more play to get it into 2-ball range. Need at least 5. Delvio steps up and they're going to get it.
Montreal was able to put themselves in scoring position to kick the game-winning field goal. We'd worked all week on a blocked field goal for situations like that. And we were very confident with that situation, but it meant making a lot of substitutions to put a lot of guys in. Infamously, before the game, I said to the guys, make certain you count and get off the field if you're supposed to get off the field.
There's time on the clock as Kerry Watkins puts it into range for David Duval.
This is what you dreamed of. This is when you become a kicker or punter. This is, you know, your reality, your opportunity to have the game in your hands.
You couldn't hear a single thing in that place. You know, everyone was screaming and jumping up and down, making sure that it would be hard for them to get their play and their kick.
We're on the sideline, basically holding hands, locking arms, you know, just saying your last prayer. Like, you know, God, this is our time. You know, we did what we had to do. We're up. You put us in this situation, you know, just, you know, whatever happens after here, just make sure it's good for us.
We put a special field goal block team on the field, and we expected that we'd have an opportunity to block that kick.
So I remember going out, lining up, checking everything, checking the wind.
We saw the kick go up and we saw it sail off to the right. There was a sense of jubilation. There were some players in the background who CFL officials had given championship caps to.
As soon as it left his foot, it's just going to the right, and you can see like it's nowhere near the uprights.
Yeah, everyone just up, you know, jumping around, hands in the air, high-fiving.
When he missed, I ran on the field. I threw my helmet in the air. Just all types of joy just went through me.
Fans are losing their minds. Players are running out onto the field. But then you look at the Montreal side, and they're not upset. They're not sad. And it's like, well, what do they know that we don't know?
From my vantage point, all I saw was orange. The orange flag's flying right when the kick. And because there's so many football reporters, we all look at each other and too many men. It's got to be someone has too many men, too many men. And of course, the crowd's going crazy. They think the Riders won.
Right up the last play, I was like jumping in the air. I was so happy. And then I saw the flag.
And I watched the flag come down and hit the turf. And my whole body froze, and I could not take my eyes off of that flag.
And I remember jumping up and down on the sidelines, but I remember within that first jump, seeing the flags come out, you know, and that, you know, that obvious high that we had of emotion being essentially drained right out of you.
It happens in hockey quite often where there's too many men on the ice and we think nothing of it. But when it happened, that was just, can't happen, it can't be.
In the middle of all the chaos, the good celebrating from Saskatchewan and the bad from Montreal, thinking it's over and we lost it, you see me just sit here doing this. So saying, you know, it's a flag, game's not over, we're getting another chance.
I announced that we're going to have a 10-yard penalty, we're going to move the ball up.
It's a 10-yard penalty.
And we're going to repeat the down and kick again. And I mean, the devastation you saw on some of the Saskatchewan players on the field was just, it was unbelievable.
Paul LaPolice cannot believe it. And neither can, I'm sure, an entire province.
The sad part and the tragic part was I knew seconds before the kick was executed, we had 13. But because we'd used our timeout and because we could not communicate, given the noise in the stadium, to get someone off the field, or no one else knew beside myself and possibly Jason Armstead, it was almost impossible to get someone off. And it was probably one of the most sickening feelings that a person could ever have.
We had it. You know, we got, one of my friends has a picture of the clock, and zeros on the clock, and we're ahead. Not to be.
I said, F***. And I just said, F***. Like, oh, too many men? Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Did that just happen? Did they just blow it?
Everybody's just numb. You're just wondering, what on earth is happening? How could this happen?
There's no way that can happen. Like a too many men call, like, that's almost impossible, really, you know, in a Grey Cup game.
The odds of a professional kicker missing a 43-yard field goal and there being too many men on the field on defense are astronomical.
I just remember going and picking up my piece of tape that I use as a spotter and start walking up, and it'll just deep breath, relax. You don't get this chance too many times, a second chance, especially in a game of this magnitude to win the Grey Cup. You've just been reprieved. The man upstairs just gave you a get-out-of-jail-free card. And it really was, to myself, I just remember saying, nothing fancy, technique, kick the ball, put it through, let's win this game.
And I literally dropped to my knees, and I was begging and pleading with the TV for them to miss that field goal.
Silently, we were praying that he'd miss again, but in our hearts we knew that he likely wouldn't miss a second time. And it was just a sad feeling.
I won't miss twice. I don't care where it's from. I will never miss twice.
It was so loud, and then it just went to like, and you could hear a pin drop.
Just sucked every ounce of us. It just went silent.
Bang. At the end of the game, it fell off the end of the cliff.
I stood there like this, standing, staring. For about 5 minutes, I couldn't move. And the lady behind me asked my cousin, is he okay? Did he have a stroke? Like, what's going on? And it almost felt like that.
And I said, the sun will rise tomorrow, and it did.
Nobody died, but it felt like it.
It was terrible. Yeah, really sad ending to a good game.
It was just devastating. Devastating. I can remember watching it, and we had people over, you know, watching the game, and then after, we just sat there for 3 or 4 hours after and just thought, what just happened, right, Suzanne? It was like everybody. It was just...
We won it, but we gave it away.
Yeah.
It's definitely not an easy place to be a cheerleader at that time, and you can't at that time. That's when it stops, and you just kind of become one of the members of the team or one of the members of the fans and just let things pass as they do. And you know, it's almost in a sense kind of, I guess, like a funeral at times, right? Because and that's how you treat it. You know, you wouldn't go to a funeral cheering, and you would, in a situation like this, you definitely wouldn't be a cheerleader.
Okay, well, if you're Montreal, you won the Grey Cup because the other team, you know, had a penalty. So, but that extra player didn't make a difference anyway, so you should have lost, but you won. So do you feel good that you won it when you didn't win it?
You know what? At the end of the day, I've got this ring right here, and it says 28-27 Montreal victory, and that's all I care about.
And it was surreal to see Paul Lapalisse, the offensive coordinator, standing there on the field just staring.
can't do anything but just weep. You don't even know what to say. I never knew what to say at all. You know, it was just one of those things that you bear down and deal with it yourself, and obviously confide in your teammates and that type of thing. But, you know, I mean, I just wanted to be alone at that time.
I knew I had to go in the locker room. That was my assignment. I had to cover it. And it's like, I don't want to go in that locker room. But you want to go in that locker room at the same time because it's such a great story.
Can you imagine the worst way to lose?
Can I imagine one? No, I can't imagine one, no. Rather get blown out than lose like that.
I didn't want to do any interviews. I went straight in the locker room, and I walked back to the training room. Andy Fantus and myself, we walked back to the training room, and we sat on the table and we cried our eyes out for about 20 minutes. Just cried, just nonstop tears.
It took a while for it to settle in, and there was emotions of being upset, being angry, and then it finally came down to just crying. I mean, just finally breaking down.
I don't blame a player. Like I said, for the rest of my life, I gotta live with that. I cannot put a player in that situation to say that it's the player's fault. It's my fault. I shoulder the blame on that.
Cavis, man, just a class, just A1 guy, you know. Took full responsibility. He was a special teams coach at the time. Took full responsibility, even though it wasn't his fault.
The disappointment was deep, palpable. It was each of us as human beings go through life situations where we suffer great loss. And this somehow fits into that scale of extreme loss.
I remember calling my wife after. Rhonda, you'll never want to see what I just saw. I just saw 40 men bawling their eyes out, and it was the toughest thing to do my job and not, you know.
I thought I'd seen everything in terms of bitter endings with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and it turns out the 13th man, their greatest ally, became a bit of a curse, a bit of a cloud, a lot of a cloud hanging over this team because of an entirely different interpretation.
Sad and mad at the other team. Who was the 13th man? Because they beat us.
We're not telling.
You're taught all your life that football is the ultimate team sport and to never point fingers. But it's human nature to want to know who was it? Who was the 13th man? Who's to blame? You know, this is the Grey Cup.
Were there really too many men?
There were 13 men on the field.
Was there any particular individual who shouldn't have been there? Or?
One.
Was it basically just the guy not knowing his assignment? Was it just the heat of the moment, just things were happening?
It was a lack of communication. The thing that happened was we had what we call beef block go on the field, and one of the men who was on didn't hear that, and it wasn't communicated clearly, and so one of the men who should have been off stayed on. Football teams win as a team, they lose as a team, that we weren't interested in pointing out or finding a scapegoat. Now, that's a really easy hunting trip, is to find someone to blame in that situation.
A lot of people wanted to know who was responsible, but I'm glad, you know, that nothing was said about it, nothing was done, because it showed it happened before. Somebody blew a play, ended up with a bunch of manure on their front driveway. That's not really us. We're not proud of that.
And I think the fans accepted that, and they appreciated that they lost as a team, and the city as well appreciated that. Yeah, we played hard and we fought hard, and it was unfortunate, but nobody holds the players accountable and nobody carried a grudge. I think that's the way our city is.
When we got off the plane coming back from Calgary and came to the stadium, we had thousands of people there just to greet us. You know, they showed us so much love. They were just as proud of us as if they were our parents, as if they were our brothers and sisters. They're supporting us to the fullest.
It was a wonderful response, a very dignified response by the fan base en masse to a situation that nobody could have imagined. After the initial curiosity and the initial deluge of emails and phone calls about who was it, it became, we don't care, we don't want to know. Fans began, it was almost like a badge of honor where fans would walk around with their chest puffed out saying, I'm the 13th man.
All their games, no matter where you play, when I worked for the Riders, you go to a game, the attendance would spike at every other stadium. And one, it sounds like a lot of people had moved out of Regina. They go to college in Toronto, they go in Calgary, and then they, you know, a lot of people are born in Saskatchewan, moved to other provinces, but they are still Rider fans.
I'd like to see them do an actual count of how many Rider fans there actually are. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Rip off their heads! Go, team, go!
That franchise has gone through a lot. It has survived a lot. And that is why I think Canada really has that pride about Rider Nation as well, because we understand and we recognize as a league that this football franchise has endured a lot, but that pride still exists. That brilliance about their passion still exists.
If the Riders disappeared, you know, I'm not even sure I can even think of what that would be like for Saskatchewan and for Regina. It would be devastating for, I think, the entire community. I think the backbone of the Canadian Football League is the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Saskatchewan Roughrider fans. And I think without the Riders, I don't think there's a CFL.
There's one thing that unites us, and that's cheering for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So it doesn't matter what your politics, what your age, what your nationality is. It's the one thing that brings us together.
Well, it's good to be a Rough Rider, and it does something for the spirit of the whole province.
And if they don't win, we love them anyway.
This team is such a perfect reflection of the way of life here. Logically, this team shouldn't exist, given the size of the province, yet it does.
It's just a love for the game. I can't really put a finger on it. It's just everybody through the Riders has become to accept this game as part of their religion.
It's a passion. We love our team. They represent us, our province, you know, where we're from. Loud and proud. We're loud and proud, yeah.